It takes a village to raise a child, and I would like to testify on the truth of this African proverb. It really does take a village to raise a child. This proverb is very true, especially true amongst us as Africans, since as well, we are never sufficient enough on our own as individual families and households to actually give all that might be necessary to equip our children with the kind of resources that kind of help them build an admirable life for themselves as they grow up into adults. Like, we don't really have all the knowledge, we don't really have all the wisdom, we don't really have all the connections, we don't really have all the money and all the keys to kind of unlock as much doors. I don't really believe that it is true that it takes a village to raise a child. I actually know that it is true because it is the truth that I have lived in my life, and it is the truth that I have seen in other people's lives as well, and I've seen both sides of the coin. One side being that you have been raised by a village, and the other being that you have not been raised by a village. I've seen kids whom have been raised by a village. They manage to have most desires of their heart, especially the long-term ones, the overall betterment of life. Most of them come from families without much, but because they belong to a bigger and well-orientated communities and organizations, they get to belong to a lot of families, families which have appreciated them so much so that they adopt them as one of theirs, so much so that they are willing to sacrifice much and little of what they have in order to better the lives of these children, And on the other side of the coin, I've seen kids whom were not being raised by a village, for many reasons, of course. Either they rejected the village or the village rejected them, or it is both ways, And in some cases, some of these kids just so happen to have never been seen and noticed by any village whatsoever. Some do get seen, just that they don't stick around long enough to build a belonging to any village, or they do stick around, but they never have a strong involvement with any village, thus they remain outcast. And the flip side about these kids is the fact that they come from families with something to their names, but they grow up to lose it all and have nothing much as they grow in the long run, because there is more to life and success than just an individual family and its resources. There is a village, and more often than not, it is the involvement with a village and an even greater village that can teach and allow one to play, pursue, achieve, and keep what you have been given and what you achieve in the long run. I hope what I'm trying to say in this video makes the kind of sense that I want to make. I, McCarthy, am one of the kids who have been raised by a village, and more about that in the coming videos. I thank you. Onwards and upwards.